Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Wine Bar Mezzanine for yet another weekly video. Here we go again, another week of you not being up here with us to share wine together. So we have to do it remotely. It's getting tiring, isn't it? Well, let's try to look up and be positive about it and stay connected one way or the other. So hello to you. Can't see you, but I love you. And the wine steward, I can tell you, Kathy, myself, and the entire staff is extremely grateful to be remaining in play as a business in downtown Pleasanton. It is getting quieter around here. We have a feeling a lot of you are heading for the hills and finding an Airbnb to stay in, and so we're back to those so-called dog days of summer that happen to us every year at the Wine Steward. We kind of know what's going to happen, but it's always a little scary, so just kind of stick with us and connect maybe before you head up to the mountains. Come in and load up with your wine and cheese. We do both here, you know. So we've been working extremely hard over the last year or so with a lot of wonderful staffing and a lot of care to the little cheese case we have down there, which will probably become a bigger cheese case one of these days based on your support and all of the interest in visiting all corners of the globe, not just with wine, because wine is a visit to other places that we can't necessarily do physically right now, but think of the cheeses. We have cheeses from Spain and Italy and France and so on that also help us imagine, help us dream a little bit about trips abroad. So just remember, the Wine Steward's downtown and affords you the way to go abroad with great bottles of wine, wonderful cheeses. So let's just get into that a little bit and say that we also sell a book. We sell several books about wine, but one book that I want to concentrate on is this one here by Karen McNeil. It's the Wine Bible. It's a volume that was used as the main reference, the main prescribed reading for the Wines of the Old World class that I taught at Las Positas College last year. Actually, it was the last fully intact semester happening there before all this went down. So I had the honor of leading 30 students through Wines of the Old World and showing us all. Actually, it's always a new thing for me too, but exposure to wines that aren't from here and learning to pronounce some kind of strange wine names and just learning what Fiano di Avellino is and so on. So what inspired us? What people were asked to do ahead of time was read from this book. And I gotta tell you that I've loved the idea ever since the 1990s when I was a rather naive amateur winemaker. I loved the idea of learning about a wine, one wine at a time. I already recognized that I could learn a lot if I didn't try to learn too much in one swallow, so to speak, but to sit down with a book like this, with a bottle of wine open that represented the region that I'm reading about, and just to read and sip. And I don't know if it was how good the wine was or how interesting the book was that made it all make sense, but maybe between the two, I learned a lot about wine, one wine at a time. I think Gigondas was the first thing I looked up in a big volume I had on my lap. And First Street Wine Company provided me with a great bottle, and I read and I sipped and learned, and one wine at a time. Do that with this. This book covers the world of wine very well for consumers like you because it is easygoing, lighthearted in its way of speaking, and yet it's very thorough too. So you get to learn about all the major wine regions of the world. You can look up a particular grape too. The first part of the book covers just grape varieties, and then it goes to wine places after that. So if you wanted to learn about this, a grape called Fiano, you will see a little entry in the grape index at the front where you'll read a little blurb about Fiano. But you can also learn about Fiano, the grape, by going to Italy, and then after Piemonte and Tuscany and all the other famous places are talked about, all of a sudden we're in Campania, and we're noting, or Ms. McNeil is noting that Fiano is one of the two most important white grapes of Campania. Campania is not a place that we were talking about 20 years ago. All we really knew as like general wine appreciating public was Tuscany and Piedmont from Italy. I mean, those are the two biggies, right? Well, in the meantime, we've gone south. We're learning that the world is bigger than we thought, which is always a good lesson for us, and to appreciate more things, right? Be a little more open-minded, broaden. So, a great book, a great bottle of wine. Let's tell you about this bottle of wine. So this is a Fiano di Avellino. It's been sitting here in my glass waiting to be sipped. And Fiano is the name of the grape. That we believe, and it's believed by many wine critics and historians, that it is in fact the exact same grape that was planted there by the Romans. So this wine, or this grape variety, Fiano, is an oldie. It goes back to Roman times. Campania is near Naples, as you know, but this area where the grape is grown is well inland and a very hilly area. And there are over 100 different grape varieties, grown in this region. It is felt, however, that the three most important grapes are Aglianico, that's a red grape, and then the two white grapes, Greco and this, Fiano. What I find about Fiano is what I find about a lot of Italian white wines, in that it is it's not an overt, in-your-face wine experience. So if you have Spain's Verdejo, if you have Alsace, France's Gewürztraminer, and any Sauvignon Blanc you'll ever have, those are overt, those are eccentric. As soon as you smell them, you know what they are. And they're in your face with their fragrances and then their flavors. The typical Italian white wine is more accommodating of what is right next to it, meaning the food. And in that way, whereas it is full of flavor and character, it's a little more discreet about saying so. And it just has this wonderful way of not stepping on the food, but working perfectly with it. So when you have wonderful cheese, any kind of a meal with Italian wine, you have a beautiful dance where the stage is very politely shared between the two parties, the food and the wine. So here's this Fiano, and what do I get? I'm getting a little bit of citrus rind, a little bit of pear, and maybe spiced pear, as if you're baking a pear with some spices on it, baking spices. But it's overall very discreet. It's refreshing. There's no wood at all. There's no oak. There's no vanilla from a barrel, because a barrel was never included. And I have acidity in my mouth. It's lush. It's a little saline, you could say. And a long finish of just vague flavors, not overt, not eccentric, vague flavors of perhaps dried pear, like dried fruit. Either dried apricot or dried pear is happening here. And a lot of great acidity. And I am automatically salivating. I am automatically hungry. And that is well, of course, that's the hope for any, especially a European or old world style wine, to make you hungry in order to send you to the kitchen and cook something good. I think Italian wines are the ultimate example of that effect. Fiano di Avellino from Campania, southern Italy, near Naples, and a cheese that is from there that we're very proud to have once again is this guy right here. So, for those of you who are not heading for the hills, those of you who are staying at home, there may be one reason why you're not all that eager to leave home. Finally, those tomatoes in your backyard are ripening, right? It is finally, officially tomato time. I've seen tomato vines at a lot of friends' places, and they are laden and getting ready. So, whereas we've been selling this wonderful cheese called burrata almost year-round now, which gets flown here from Puglia, Italy, now is the ultimate time. I know we talked about this cheese a couple of months ago, but this is the time to totally trumpet the fact that we have it. Your tomatoes are ready. You want to make that insalata caprese with a little bit of basil that's probably in the backyard and ready to go too. Get in on our burrata. This is a big risk for us, I just want to say. To bring in burrata means we might be throwing some away because we don't want to be carrying it for longer than a week or two. And it gets flown here painstakingly all the way from Italy. There's burrata now made domestically, but we feel like the Italian stuff is probably still the best in the world. And so we go to great pains to get it here and keep it fresh for you. We hope you will get in on our cheese action. Support the idea that we have some of these wonderful perishables here and pair them with great wine from the same area. So it's a book, it's a hunk of cheese, it is a beautiful bottle of wine from Campania that just works wonderfully well with it. It will not stop over the food. You'll learn more about it in the book. It's just, embrace the whole sensory thing. We're going to use our eyes and our mouth for what we're talking about this week. So, goodbye Burrata, goodbye Fiano, and just very quickly, let's tell you about a couple of other products. And oh my God, there's another cheese. Look at this. This will be a mess in about 20 minutes. I wish we could stay on for a half an hour so that you could watch minute by minute, maybe have an hourglass right next to this cheese as it flattens out on the plate. So I baked some sourdough bread. That's going to become my platform for this beautiful cheese called La Tour, which is from Piemonte, Italy, and it's made with the milk of sheep, goat, and cow. So all three animals contribute to the making of La Tour. But the fun thing about La Tour is it holds this shape for a little while, but as you let it warm up, and as you know, cheese is better at close to room temperature, far better than at refrigerated temperature. If you let this warm up on your plate, it will flatten out. It will become what I call a puddle of cheese love. And you can take the rustic bakery crackers that we sell downstairs, or make your own sourdough bread, or maybe bribe me into making you a loaf, and you just dip. This cheese becomes a dip of sorts. It is full of character too. So it's not for those who want safe and cheese that just is kind of monolithic or mono in its delivery of flavor. But this has some not extreme flavors, but it knows that it's cheese, and it knows that three different animals contributed. And that's about all I can give you, except to say that we've been selling and loving La Tour for many, many years. This is yet another one of the perishable ones, so we're kind of relying on you to support the idea of selling great cheese downstairs for you. I'll be checking in on this later. Briefly tell you about three wines. Here's another Italian wine, kind of on topic, because this takes us to a region that's just east of where we were with the Fiano di Avellino, and now we're heading away from Vesuvius, that volcano that kind of messed up the lifestyle in Pompeii, and we're going east to the slopes of another volcano, Mont Vulture in Basilicata. And here we go. This is a blend of two grapes, Greco and Fiano. And if you were to read the Wine Bible by Karen McNeil, on which we have a better than Amazon price, by the way, we're kicking butt with this, and we just want to encourage many people to use this as a reference. And easygoing reading, once again, great price, $17. Anyway, you would read in her volume, just briefly said, because everything, for the wine consumer needs to be simply put and quickly, that there are two fantastic white grapes of this Campania Basilicata area, and Fiano is one, the other is Greco. So it's kind of cool. You get a combo wine here using them both. This one has, on my palate, and in my nose, a little more of a tropical fruit thing. So where the Fiano that I was telling you about is a little more classical and a little more savory, perhaps. It's got fruit, but the fruit is discreet. Here, there's a little more understandable, you could say, fruit fun. Cocktail wine and food wine. The other one is definitely Insalata Caprese wine, meaning use that burrata, or put the burrata on top of a pizza and cook it fast, and it will kick ass too. Another wine that just got here, which is a reminder to me to tell you that Rosé Sampler number 6 is now in play. We have gone through not one, not two, but 5 different Rosé samplers in 2020. You guys are really wonderfully supporting the idea of adventuring beyond Provence into all kinds of rosé situations out there. And so in Rosé Sampler number 6, which is now on the website, we're including this bottle. Compare, please. this bottle next to this bottle. This one looks a little bigger, doesn't it? This is in fact a whole liter, 750 milliliters, 1 liter. Meaning you get an extra glass of this wine that comes from Greece, Peloponnese, Greece. The Greek wine thing is really starting to happen for us. It's getting better representation as far as the vendors go here in the Bay Area. And so we're just grabbing tastes wherever we can get them and choosing nice Greek wine for you. We're gonna build that category, I promise. It's slowly but surely kind of thing. This is made with a grape called Moscofilero. I hope I'm saying that right, from Peloponnese. We've carried this for 2 vintages now. This is an old friend that's come back with the fresh 2019 vintage. It's very delicate. It's got a wonderful acidity to it. You can sense a lot of kind of a dry stone effect in the mouth that makes you hungry and kind of makes you want more of that pizza that we were just talking about. Moscofilero, get in on this. It's a whole liter of rather affordable and yet characterful rosé fun. And then the final wine I want to mention is a wine that we used in our Whoa event just a couple of days ago. Several of you, many of you, and we're grateful to you, signed up to participate in a Zoom tasting that we had on Tuesday night. And this was one of the wines. I think it was wine number 3. And it comes from Oregon. And it uses 2 different grapes. And it reminds us that the wine regions of Oregon do not represent just one grape. We all know that Pinot Noir happens up there, right? And then if we know about the white wine, then okay, Pinot Gris, which is actually genetically the same as Pinot Noir. Did you know that? At any rate, this wine uses no Pinot Noir, no Pinot Gris. This is 60% Cabernet Franc, 40% Gamay. 2 very fragrant grape varieties getting together. The wine is called Tour Reine. It's made by Leah Jorgensen, female winemaker and proprietress of this place called Jorgensen Cellars. And the Tour Reine refers, of course, tongue-in-cheek to the fact that it's a rainy place up there in Oregon. So, also to the fact that there's one place in the world where these 2 grapes do get together as a tradition, and that's in the Loire Valley of France. So in Touraine, Loire Valley, France, you will often see Cabernet Franc and Gamay, the 2 most planted grape varieties of that area, put together in a combo. So you've got 2 very fragrant wines, grape varieties put together, making a really interesting red. Interesting weird? No, I don't think so. As soon as you understand Cab Franc and its potential to be either a little green or a little red, and you kind of want a little of both in a Cab Franc, at least if you're a real Cab Franc fan, you're going to find that here. You're going to get ripeness. We're definitely in the New World, but you're going to get let's say, a European style intrigue going on too. Absolutely no funk whatsoever. What you're getting here is pure fruit, but the expressions of Gamay and Cabernet Franc and the idiosyncrasies of each. A beautiful red wine to check out. Now that the Zoom event is over, everybody else also has a crack at getting some of this great wine. We appreciate all you're doing for us. We hope you'll have a good weekend. Remember, before you head for the hills, stop at the Wine Steward, grab some wonderful cheese. How about a book? Take it up to Truckee and read a book, drink some wine, eat some great cheese, make some pizza. Do whatever you do, but include us in it if you would. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic weekend.